Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'll be talking about the recent update by the Scorn developers. Let's begin. The developers have released the 15th update on their Kickstarter page, but alas, there's nothing substantially new about it. We know that they now have 30 people working on the game, which is more than they used to have, and while one might assume that they might be faster in completing the game, that isn't necessarily so, as they are working on an entire half of the game again. Remember, they were supposed to release part 1 in October, but now they are working on part 2 and will combine both parts into a single game and release it as such. Some people believe that the game will be released in 2019. Given the substantial development time for part 1 already, I think 2020 will be the earliest release year as far as I know. I wouldn't mind being proven wrong so long as the game is substantial and lives up to the promises of the developers, but the point is I think we have an even longer wait for the game to release, and we likely would not hear from the developers as far as any substantial information about the game goes for about as long as a time. On their Kickstarter page in the comment section for Update 15, they have replied to a person asking about a new trailer by saying that an additional trailer would be a substantial amount of work and they would rather focus on development, meaning we won't get another trailer until its release, which might be a few years away, so don't expect any cinematics concerning the game for a while. So what did they show? Well, the first thing they showed was a few bits of concept art. They are lovely little tidbits into the world of Scorn that we might explore in a later date, but they are nothing substantial. At least they are not any more substantial than the concept art in a previous update that concerned some theories about the development of Scorn people that I held in a previous video. But concept art was not the only thing they shown. They also shown a cross comparison between what the actual game should look like. What they are interested in presenting is that the game will follow as close as reasonably possible to the concept art as the developers could manage, which is an admirable attempt at enticing the backers. One of my subscribers has alerted me about this recent update and asked if I would be willing to make a video update about it. Initially I was dismissive because the update was nothing severely substantial. Indeed, it was far cry from the confirmation that Scorn people are grown out of walls and develop over time in those walls until they are a fully fledged adult Scorn being, as opposed to a child and the development surrounding it that human beings go through. It has nothing major as far as lore is concerned. And yet, I've decided to make a completely new video about it because there are a few things I have noticed I think some people watching this video who are interested in Scorn might appreciate. The big thing I want you to pay attention here is these extensions or outcrops of the floor or the walls outlining the floor. Like I mentioned in a previous video, the Scorn people most certainly do not follow OSHA standards. There are no railings or anything to prevent a person from walking off the edge and falling into the abyss below. But these scarce few outcrops I've noticed in this concept art, there are 4 of them, and there are 4 of these screens or large lights, depending on how they will actually be depicted in the game itself, to accompany each of these outgrowths. Additionally, this concept art shows that the outgrowth is a little bit hollow. A Scorn person could potentially sink himself into the outgrowth or structure, like a large chair for instance. This leads me to believe that each of these structures accompany each of the screens, but this is further confirmed by the very in-engine depiction of the area itself. Notice how the concept art had 4 screens and subsequently 4 outgrowths or structures, while the in-engine footage has 3 screens and 3 of these structures. It is no surprise that I think they are related. There is one of these structures amongst the edge of the walkway for Scorn people to traverse on per screen. And yet, the farthest one, both in the concept art and in the in-engine footage, is faced a little bit away from the screen itself. Perhaps it'll be a puzzle to face it toward the screen, or perhaps it is a hint to the environmental storytelling of what happened in the world. Nonetheless, it is a discrepancy between concept art and the actual game, and not one that I think is significant compared to all the other discrepancies between concept art and the final product. Another thing I'd like to point out is the far left side, which features an additional structure not found in the concept art. I suppose that is just another bit of decoration for the game, considering that they need to add more and more things to it. I would also like to point out that the screens are not quite as bright as in the concept art, and that in the pipes hanging from the ceiling on the left side, there's a bit of the red weed we've seen in the demo, and that is very important to consider. And I want you to consider that because the next concept art and subsequent in-game footage they show has some different biological ruin that was not seen in the demo or any of the trailers. It is fairly spaghetti-like, sort of looking a bit like a massa brain, though not the same color. And it appears in a different area, though one very clearly built by the same species that built the facility in the first concept art and gameplay footage, and the rest of the trailers, whatever machinery or structures appear in them. The Scorn people are an intelligent architectural being, or are capable of making these massive facilities. We've established this in previous videos, but this just confirms it all the more. There is a consistency in the aesthetic and art style that these things build in. The purpose of this room seems to be that a machinery that extends far beyond the simple wall on the left side or left of the very prominent light on the ceiling. I suspect that there is something below that mist that you are supposed to manipulate in the final game, and you need to use that machinery in order to further progress in the level. It could be that you need to use the same key thing embedded into Scorn Guy's skin. You know, the one from the demo that you stick your hand into this weird machine and it embeds this strange machine into you that you in turn use to upgrade the stone key, and it looks rather painful and awkward, and you wonder, is this going to be permanently embedded into his arm and hand, or is there some way to remove it? In the actual in-game or in-engine footage, we see that the environment is very much the same, but get a better look at what the ruins would look like. The ruins are the most important part of it, simply because they are so different than the sort of biological ruins we have seen in the demo and previous trailers, where the previous ruins were red and veiny to the point where I call them red weed in a similar manner to what the effects of the Martians' invasions in the War of the Worlds was. This ruins is rocky and coated by a white milky filament that does not seem to spawn from the sort of creatures seen in the demo, and believe me, I have checked. It could be that it is a product of a completely different creature, one that has also taken over the facilities that the Scorn people have made and turned them into their own habitat that Scorn Guy must now traverse through in order to progress to whatever goal he is seeking. Or maybe it is a natural process of decay for whatever material that Scorn Guys use, like wood rotting or concrete cracking. In any case, I want you to understand that this is not the sort of decay we have seen before, yet this is the sort of architecture and structures we have seen and traversed already in the demo. Something really has gone severely wrong in the world of Scorn, and our character will have to shuffle through it, avoiding what dangers traverse in order to figure it out. I hope that in the future the Scorn developers post more substantial updates that give us a better understanding of what the world is about and what happened, or at least what the journey would be like. Given that the game will no longer be split into parts, that adds an entire new half of the game to illuminate to potential customers and players. And yet I doubt that much would be revealed about the game, given their reluctance to reveal anything as of so far. So if not that, I do hope they at least maintain a monthly update schedule with a bit of concept art to examine and cross-compare to what we know so far. I do enjoy making these videos. I think people also enjoy trying to figure out what exactly is going on in this strange world of odd forms and somber tapestries. I think it would do well for the developers to hire a sort of PR person similar to the Hell Messenger that the Agony developers have. A person who can interact with the fan base and answer questions or explain why something cannot be answered immediately. Until next time, which may be February or even March, given the track record of these developers and their updates. I hope you enjoyed the video and that I gave you something to think about and otherwise entertained you. Take care.